So Susan, if you could introduce our guests, Amy and Jillian.
I would be delighted to do that. This morning, what we've been doing, as you all know, is trying to stay in touch with different communities and different stakeholders in Brookline so that we know what's going on in town and we know where there might be needs that Brookline Rotary can step in. So thanks to Rita McNally and Chobi Hoy, I made the connection with Jillian Jackson, and I apologize to Jillian because I should have thought of her immediately. Jillian has been a wonderful help to me in Rotary. Each year, she's the gal I go to when we're doing pancake breakfast, and we need to do bulletin boards and posters and that kind of stuff. And Jillian's the one who gives us permission to do that and has been a very good supporter. So I'm going to let them tell you about the Commission for the Arts. But just briefly, Jillian and Ann are both artists. Ann's day job, as I was told, is at Dana-Farber, where she works to get new therapies up and running. And Jillian has been the town arts coordinator and administrator for Brookline since 2011. And since 2014 has served as the treasurer for Arts Brookline. And they're here this morning to share with us what is going on in the arts community and how the pandemic is affecting our very precious art group in Brookline. So I'll let you go ahead. Jillian, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Well, as you can imagine, the pandemic hasn't been treating the arts community very well, given that both visual artists and performing artists rely on big crowds, you know, whether it be to go into spaces to view their art or to perform in front of. So it's been pretty catastrophic for the arts community. I'll just read you a few numbers from Americans for the Arts that actually are very, very good at doing surveys, constantly doing surveys. And as of August 3rd, they estimate that nationally, $10.2 billion has been lost in the arts community. 61% have had to cancel events through September and beyond. 9% have cancelled outright 2021 events. And 10% are not confident they'll survive the pandemic. Now, obviously, that's a national figure. When you bring it down to Brookline, you know, numbers are going to be the same, and I think the Arts Commission will actually put out some surveys come September, you know, to see how much Brookline's figures reflect this. Now, obviously, Brookline doesn't have large museums or art galleries or that kind of thing, but on a micro level, there's a lot of suffering going on, both from artists and people who have brick and mortar presences in town. So, for instance, the library, who usually host a lot of performance art, you know, music and a gallery space, they're still closed. They're only just getting back to contactless pickup for books. The Puppet Show Place Theatre were hit really badly. And they have pretty much gone virtual, which obviously just doesn't bring in the income that the physical theatre did. Gateway Arts too, obviously no one is able to go into the gallery or the store in great numbers, so they're online, the store's online, the gallery's online. Brookline Arts Centre has been closed since March. Again, you know, a big hit to their bottom line. They've been very, very innovative about creating virtual classes And I honestly don't know how successful that's been financially for them. They administer Open Studios, and Open Studios, which was scheduled for October the 3rd, in a big way, is now totally online. That's going to be virtual, although it will cover the whole year from October 1st to September 30th next year. There are a lot of music groups that are based in Boston. Brookline Symphony Orchestra, Mistral, the Boston Artist Ensemble, and many more who are not able to perform in the local churches like they used to, probably in front of an audience of 300 to 400. So they're trying. I saw on Instagram that Brookline Symphony are rehearsing in somebody's very large front yard, and they were all socially distanced with their instruments. And, you know, you've got to give them credit for trying. I think they have a concert in October, but that remains to be seen if that's going to happen, you know, given talk about a second wave and flu and a bad winter. We'll see. Mistral, which is a chamber ensemble, have been performing in a local park. The musicians are socially distanced from the audience, which is also very socially distanced, mask wearing. However, with this new guideline that's come down from Charlie Baker, which says now that no more than 50 can gather outdoors. They were getting up in numbers a little bit, maybe 60, 70. So now they've had to cancel those until the guidelines improve in their favor. But they've worked very hard at that, and they've been bringing in, you know, very high quality musicians from the Boston Symphony and other organizations to literally play in the park for free. So they basically hold their rehearsals in the park, and people just bring their chairs and their masks, and but they've had to put that on hold because of the 50-person limit. Art Barn, which is a local theatre group, again, they're trying to work out the fall program, but it's just so difficult for people because of the uncertainty. You know, nobody knows where this is going. No one knows if it's going to get worse or better, or so it's a very difficult situation. With regards to the Brookline Commission for the Arts, I don't know if you know, but we run the grant program on behalf of the Massachusetts Cultural Council. There are something like 300 throughout the state, and the Arts Commission is one of them. And every year we probably grant somewhere between 10 and 14,000 amongst 15 to 18 organizations, I would say. So, you know, as every year, 2020 was going well. We distributed the money. Everybody had the programs in place. Then March happened. So I'm just looking down the list. And all as I'm seeing is took place virtually, maybe virtual in 2021, maybe virtual in the fall, cancelled. It's kind of decimated the whole program. But in keeping with the NCC guidelines, quite rightly so, we are trying to still get that money out there, you know, to cover the costs for producing videos and, you know, any online expenses that they've had. So hopefully the money will still get out there. It's just that, you know, it just won't add to the cultural fabric of Brookline like it usually, you know, people can't go to a concert, go to an exhibit. We had to cancel Porch Fest. I don't know if any of you are Porch Fest fans, but that went virtual because, you know, obviously we couldn't have such a big kind of street event. And I mentioned open studios. So that's basically it. You know, artists are suffering because they just don't have the outlet anymore that they used to have. You know, we have artwork in Town Hall, you know, in 3 galleries in Town Hall. We have artwork in Brookline Bank. And it's, you know, Town Hall is close to the public still. So that particular exhibit I put online. I did a slideshow and put it on our website, but obviously it just doesn't get the viewership that it would at Town Hall, you know, with all the hundreds of people passing through. So that's the sad news from my end.
I know Amy has to leave, and I apologize. I just referred to her as Amy when I did my introduction. Amy Browning Emert. Is it Emert or Emert?
Emert.
Emert. Another one of our local artists. And Amy, I want to give you a chance to say something because I know you are going to have to take off.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jillian was very thorough about, you know, speaking to the situation. You know, the gig community is pretty devastated. But the interesting thing is that they're working very hard to come up with new, you know, digital platforms and methods of reaching people. And I think the innovation is there. What's happening now is tremendous innovation across every business, every sector of our economy. I mean, the level of innovation is extraordinary, and I think that we should be hopeful about that. The digital platforms need to come along further. Even things like I attended an international, you know, it was the cell therapy conference, which was supposed to be in Paris in May, darn. And that was virtual, and what they had hired a company that it was basically like a gaming company, and they had figured out this whole thing. You go in and you went into rooms, and you know, then you saw the lectures, and you could go out of the rooms and go to another room and see a plenary, and you know, the slides are on one side and the lecturers were somewhere in the world presenting live. You know, it was quite extraordinary. I think things are coming along like that. Then when I said, oh, for our conference this fall, can you please get that company, and my staff member called them, and they already had like a giant waiting list. So there's a lot going on. I think that maybe similar to what happened after the flu of 1918. I think, you know, we might have. I'm hopeful that we'll have a tremendous period of creativity hatching right now. In the background, people are doing a lot of art. They're making a lot of art. They're not selling it or hurting. And I think everything we can think of to help promote and help people have platforms for getting their work out at very low or no cost is going to be crucial. Finding donors who are willing to contribute. The IT stuff is really important. You know, so, and I think, you know, one thing to keep in mind is the arts help people tell stories, and people need this. People need to hear the stories, and they need to have ways of telling these stories. I'm also on the board of Brookline Interactive Group, and that's sort of been the theme we've held together the whole time here, making sure that that there's you know, opportunities for like recording events and for allowing people to get together and making sure these things happen where people can interact and continue to make good decisions and continue to be informed about what's happening in the community. So it's I think it's both it's a devastating time, and you know, going from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting is just like I find one of the most stressful things. You flip off one and you jump on another, and you realize you've been just standing still for hours is terrible. You know, we're trying to teach our staff to like know when to turn everything off, you know, and like literally go home, you know. But on the other hand, there is tremendous innovation and creativity happening. This is prompting people to really reach deep and figure out what to do. And I think that organizations such as yours and other organizations if they, keep their thinking cap on in terms of ways of providing outlets for all this creativity, I think we're really could see a wonderful resurgence. I'm a glasses half full kind of person, and I think there's a lot going on that is very hopeful, even though it's really, really tough right now. And we are seeing many arts businesses and organizations going under right now. So there's going to be a complete turnover, and there's going to be a lot of new stuff appearing. Hopefully, if they can get their hands on the resources, or if people can help them who have those resources. So that's going to be really important.
I want to talk a little about the cultural district.
Yeah, so for the last 2 to 3 years, we've been tinkering away at developing the framework for applying to the Mass Cultural Council for the Brookline Village to become a cultural district. And we've done a lot of the work, a lot of the baseline work is done. We still need to kind of come up with a few more ideas for identifying arts venues, just to make it a little stronger. But our goal is to make Brookline Village an arts destination. And it is actually, has virtually all the features that the MCC requires in terms of walkability, access by the T, a cohesiveness about the spaces there. The architecture's incredibly, when you look at what's his name, Sir List's walking towards, I think the architecture is very interesting, actually, and it tells a lot about it's the original center of Brookline, actually. And so there's a lot to say there, and there's a lot to do there, and obviously it's very rich with cultural assets. And so what we want to do, though, is take the last step, which is what are the goals of the district? What would we want to accomplish besides just making it an arts destination? For example, are we going to try to really make it not only just an arts destination, but a very diverse arts destination that allows for many different voices and not be very narrow? To open it up to make it a very interesting, dynamic place. Once we sort of get our heads around those sort of mission ideas, and then have a stable steering committee, we can go to the select board, who are supportive of this, and sort of officially apply. Jillian, have I covered that pretty well?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. But again, it's sort of ground to a halt because,
right.
The MCC is
nothing,
furloughs and whatever, so we just can't actually get to grips with it until we get a bit of breathing space with this darn virus. But that's the aim. And then I should add that hopefully once we get the Brookline Village Cultural District in place, I've already started the process with some volunteers in Coolidge Corner to develop one there also. But again, we were hoping this would be all done by now. But
just to explain too, originally we were sort of keying off of what happened in Arlington, where Arlington had two sort of centers, and they made sort of a dog bone shaped cultural district, and they got it through with the previous MCC administration. And then just as we stepped up, there's a new administration, and they kind of retracted and rethought out how they wanted these cultural districts to be configured. And they decided they do not like these dog bone shaped districts, like two separate places that are connected with a skinny corridor which doesn't have anything in it that is of particular cultural value. I mean, we've got, a gas station and a Stop and Shop or whatever. No, they didn't like that. So we decided, because we had a much bigger list of current cultural assets, believe it or not, even though we have Coolidge Corner Theater and Booksmith and, the Kennedy Museum and all that stuff in Coolidge Corner, which is very interesting. In Brookline Village, there are a lot of cultural assets there actually all scattered around, and there are artists that live around that area. And so we decided to begin with that group, and also the library and town hall, and it just goes on. And there's the Station Street area. So we're starting with that, and then in the meantime, as Jillian said, a somewhat separate, a little bit delayed stream will sort to kick in, and they will be able to do it a lot easier because we're going to show them how in the Brookline Village. We're stumbling on all the little things that get in the way.
Yeah, we're like the elder child paving the way for the
Right.
the younger kids, but
It's very exciting, and I think there's a tremendous opportunity there. This is not, this is absolutely not meant to, kind of raise the value of the neighborhood or anything like that. That is actually what the MCC does not want to see. They want to see actual dedication of spaces to the arts and culture and more activity going on in a consolidated area where people can walk around. So that's what we're trying to do, is trying to understand what we can do there. And strangely enough, I think, again, getting back to the opportunity kind of perspective, with all the, sadly, the commercial space is being emptied because businesses are going out. There might be some flexibility on the part of some of these landlords to let us have some of that space for a few years to, at a low rent or something, to enable the neighborhood to come back in a vibrant sort of way after all this mess. So might be an opportunity over the this next fall. We're going to see, as everybody knows, big time real estate changes, so, given the economy. So I've got to drop off. Thank you very much, and Jillian can fill me in if there's any questions.
Amy, thank you so much.
thanks, Amy.
Take care.
Thank you.
I was totally unaware of the cultural district application. I love that idea.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Just disappointed that, we were stopped in our tracks a little bit with the pandemic.
So has the town office of development been involved in that as well?
Yes, they have. Especially Cara Broom. She's been, very helpful. Very helpful to us. So, basically we need to now nail down the boundary of the district, which we've pretty much done, but it's going to require the MCC to come and walk it with us. So that hasn't been done yet. And then the town will need to create a resolution for the cultural district. And then there's a lot of boring backroom stuff that has to be put into place, because once it's created, it has to be maintained, reports have to be filed, numbers have to be tracked, all that kind of stuff. So, then we have to build a couple of committees, excuse me, to maintain it, once it's set up. But, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Because so many other towns in the state have cultural districts. Some are a little more what you would expect of a cultural district. For instance, some on Cape Cod, where they have the little, kind of the little buildings set up, and each artist takes one, and, that kind of thing. Some places have a lot more galleries, whereas Brookline is sadly lacking in galleries, in gallery space. But, Amy was talking about the vacant buildings that may be vacant for quite a while. So, we're going to work on trying to deal with the landlords and see if they'll come to this program. But
I wanted to ask you, Jillian, some of those grants that you give out, can some of that be used now to help artists with these online platforms and figuring out how to do things during the time of COVID?
That's what we're trying to do, but it will be to existing grantees. So, for instance, of the 18 that were given grants for 2020, we're being very flexible in the timeline. So normally they have to have their project finished by the end of the calendar year, so December 31st. you know, there's at least a third of them have just no clue how they're going to carry their project out. You know, some were going to do performances at the senior centre, which is still closed, at the library that's still closed. And that was going to cover, you know, anything from children's programs to senior programs. And they're now working out how they're going to do it. So usually the purpose for the grant is pretty strict. And if they want to change the purpose, you know, they have to go through a whole process. Will make that a lot easier. So if they want to go from a physical platform to an online platform, we're happy with that, and they'll still get the grant money. So that money they can apply to, you know, whatever costs they're going to incur setting up a virtual event. You know, people are very creative. There's one organization, they were going to do like a themed dance program in Los Anderson. So there would have probably been about 10 different dancers, and obviously they can't do that. So what they're going to do, I think, is film one dancer at a time, still in Los Anderson, just one dancer and one camera crew. People can go and watch as long as they're socially distanced. And then once all the dancers have been filmed doing their parts, someone's going to put it together in a video. And I'm very excited to see that. So the whole grant money will still go to them, but it's going to be a virtual platform. So people are being immensely creative. You know, I have to hand it to them. They've been really creative. But it is harder to promote an online event because you're competing, you know, with so many online events. If you check something like the Boston.com calendar, it goes on forever with virtual events. So if someone's looking for something to tune into, say this weekend, there are hundreds of events. So it's tougher to get your events out there, I think. So, you know, as Amy said, things are going to change for a while. Because from what I'm hearing, you know, this winter is probably going to produce, you know, more cases, a second wave. So I can't see that stage 4 is going to come very quickly. Even with a vaccine, you know, there are problems with that and the anti-vaxxers, and you've got to reach a certain percentage to be, you know. So I think maybe this time next year we'll kind of be in the same situation, but Amy's a glass half full. I am definitely more a glass half empty. But, you know, I think you've got to work with your half empty glass and do as best you can.
Well, it makes for a good partnership.
I think so. Yeah, see, here's my glass. It's half empty.
Gillian, I'd like to thank you for letting us know that that old saw starving artist is now a reality.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. But, you know, they're still out there. And
if we can find some ways to support the arts community, we will try.
Right.
And
I agree with you that the creativeness of the arts community is vital to maintaining the fabric of the greater community.
It really is. It really is. And I think many people don't realize that until it's not there. But just by the numbers that, you know, Mistral Music have been getting in the park, you know, just a quick email and people will show up because they're just yearning for that, you know, live event that they can, you know, go and participate in.
Anyway,
but, we'll do our best.
Stay for the rest of our meeting if you want to, but you don't.
No, that's okay. I will.
And Joanne, I'm happy to be the point contact with Rotary if you guys have some stuff you want to.
Oh, okay, that would be great, Susan.
There are resources all over Massachusetts, Rotary resources.
Right.
People who might be interested.
Oh, okay. I'll
Borders of
definitely.
Brookline in doing things, and there should be some synergy somewhere. Arts communities from different towns might want to get together and do something really big.
Yeah, actually, the MCC do hold a kind of drop-in discussion, usually on Fridays. So different communities will join in and, you know, they say what they've been doing. Some have been doing, like in Nantucket, a drive-in gallery exhibit outside, which I think is a very good idea. So I'm working on maybe trying to do something like that in the fall. But yeah, I mean, it's just getting heads together and seeing what works.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Jillian. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, I hope we've given you a good overview of what's going on in Brookline and nationally. And let's hope we can, you know, improve things.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.